meeting. They've been in your packet. Are there any comments regarding the minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion for approval? Please vote. And it passes unanimously. Next up is the consent docket, which has a number of pricing agreements, a number of amendments and change orders primarily on it today. Are there any items on the consent docket that the trustees would like to pull for discussion or individual consideration? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent docket? And it passes unanimously. Item 4 is the concurrence docket. There was one item on the concurrence docket with a concurrence item with the City of Oklahoma City, item A, that includes no awkward funds. The next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 items are all concurrence items with the McGee Creek Authority that met here a couple of weeks ago. Are there any items on the concurrence docket that the trustees would like to pull for discussion or individual consideration? I'm seeing none, so there's a motion to approve the consent docket. A motion, a second, please vote. And it passes unanimously. We have one emergency contract. It's ratifying the actions of the general manager, declaring emergency, waiving competitive bidding, and issuing an emergency purchase order authorizing payments for service and equipment until the emergency is resolved, estimated at $75,000. That's incredibly vague. You want to elaborate on that one, Mr. Browning?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. There was a sewer line overflow that was caused by the failure of a private lift station. Caused a backup in our system. The developer did not have the wherewithal to respond immediately, so we responded to mitigate accordingly. We've documented all of our costs, and we'll be passing those on to the developer for reimbursement.
All right. Item B is an emergency sanitary sewer repair down in on the area of South Portland Avenue. We could have a motion to approve both of the emergencies, if the trustees so desire. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And it passes unanimously. Moving on to items for individual consideration. Item A is ratifying and approving addendum number 1 and awarding contract to Ellsworth Construction for the Lake Road Improvement Rehabilitation Projects at Lake Atoka. Mr. Hare.
Got a slide? Oh, here we go. Okay. So we have about 4 miles of road at Lake Atoka that has been in pretty bad condition. The south part of it here in yellow was beaten up pretty good by heavy construction traffic due to the rehabilitation of the dam right here. The section in red was full of large cracks, and due to heavy movement of the soil alongside the mountainside right here. And so we had 2 projects to put together in order to rebuild these roads right here. So what we did in order to further encourage competition and construction bidding is to combine these 2 projects into one project, where we would bid the south portion as a base bid and the north portion as an ad alternate. Therefore, that if we do get a bid in, and we could at least build the southern portion, which was really beaten up, and allow people access to the dam area right here. And if the prices came in very well, then we could also add in the northern part. The good news is that both projects came within budget, and we were able to award both of these projects at the same time to one contractor, who is Ellsworth Construction, for a combined cost of about $7.5 million. And we anticipate this project to be done by the end of this year.
If you haven't been down there recently, that road is really bad.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Mr. Hare? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve item 6A? And it passes unanimously. Item 6B is an amendment with Vaneas Trenchless Services for project WCO 874, which is the water transmission line of the Canadian River crossing, an increase of $288,000.
This project right here deals with boring or tunneling 2 tunnels underneath the Canadian River for the new Atoka pipeline and to reinforce the existing pipeline, which is an aerial crossing that you see here. This was in danger of being swept away during heavy flooding in 2015, so we decided to go ahead and tunnel underneath the river in addition to the new one and connect it later on to the existing pipeline. This amendment right here is kind of like putting, getting all of the field conditions together for additional pipe to come up with the perfect place to find a connection point for the new 60-inch pipeline to the existing pipeline so that this centerpiece can be abandoned in place. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
All right, any questions with Mr. Hare on the river crossing amendment? Seeing none, is there a motion for approval? Please vote. And it passes unanimous. Now I think it's appropriate to go back to item 1, since I glossed over that so quickly this morning. I don't believe there's ever been an item under call for order before, quite frankly. So I know I should have caught it, but I didn't. So Mr. Weingart, can we step up front? Mickey, would you please read the resolution?
Whereas Brent Weingart is retiring on March 28, 2024, after 30 years of exemplary service and dedication to the citizens, council members, trustees, and senior leadership of the City of Oklahoma City. And whereas Mr. Weingart began his career with the city on December 6, 1993, as a business manager in utilities, and since 2001, Mr. Weingart has served as the Assistant Director of Utilities and intermittently served as Interim Director of Utilities and General Manager of the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust. And whereas Mr. Weingart has contributed through his astute insights, attention to detail, consideration of the facts in his decision-making, and consistent demonstration of continual regard for high standards, and whereas Mr. Weingart coordinated a team and modernized solid waste utility operations, employee training, collection practices, equipment selection, and financial status to raise customer satisfaction from the lowest rated service in 1997 to the highest rated service in 2003, and raised the debt bond rating from unrated to AAA rated. And whereas Mr. Weingart spearheaded efforts to convert solid waste collection vehicles from diesel to compressed natural gas, and he negotiated the public and private contracts to obtain state tax credits that funded the construction of a public fueling infrastructure, reducing Aquit's fuel costs by $600,000 per year. Therefore, Aquit received awards for environmental responsibility and innovation. And whereas Mr. Weingart worked to protect water as a valuable resource, he presided over the creation of a comprehensive water conservation plan, led the team that negotiated a 50-year contract with the federal government to operate, maintain, repair, and improve the water and wastewater systems at Tinker Air Force Base, and drove the separation of leadership for the water and wastewater quality divisions. And whereas Mr. Weingart administered the development of the Utilities Regulatory Compliance Program with the divisional managers, resulting in the development of a regulatory compliance team that ensures utilities meets all regulations and continues to develop strategies to meet future regulations well in advance of enactment. And whereas Mr. Weingart requested changes to the city charter that improved procurement practices and enabled city departments to purchase on all-quit contracts, the use of multi-year bulk pricing contracts, and the modernization of bid and contract methods for professional service solicitation, including milestone deliverables and payment procedures substantially improving vendor relations. And whereas, due in large part to Mr. Weingart's innovative efforts, Utilities has a long history of prudent financial management, relying on a blend of dependable, reoccurring annual net revenues and bond financing to fund the construction of critical capital improvements. And whereas Mr. Weingart developed financial plan strategies and objectives that routinely generate sufficient net revenues to equal or exceed the replacement value of annual asset depreciation expenses, supply coverage for twice the amount of debt service, reserve funds to meet policy levels and achieve 90 days of working capital, provide long-term financial resources sufficient to meet all capital needs, progressively raise Standard & Poor's and Moody's bond ratings from AA- to AA+ in 1999 and AAA in 2008, and generate sufficient revenues from fixed charges to meet annual debt service requirements since 2008. Whereas Mr. Weingart propelled the modernization of computer technologies, system support staffing, and project management methodologies, including the modernization of billing systems and the initial vision for the current enterprise SCADA solution. And whereas Mr. Weingart developed a wholesale water service plan and pricing strategies to help metro area communities obtain economical year-round utility services and address their federal arsenic regulation challenges, increasing customer satisfaction with the city, and increasing water sales revenues by 10% annually. And whereas Mr. Weingart oversaw the formation of a customer assistance program that makes it more economical for lower-income customers to set up services by revising customer deposit requirements and enabling the rebate of 2 months of solid waste fee deposits to customers. And whereas Mr. Weingart's vision for employee training programs shaped the employee safety program, succession planning, and the Utilities University, he devoted countless hours to building and teaching the Utilities University course, Big Picture, with the hope of inspiring the next generation of utility leaders, and Utilities University program has a profound impact on employees' lives by providing personal growth and promotional opportunities. Now therefore be it resolved by the trustees of the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust that they do hereby gratefully recognize the contributions of Brett Weingart and thank him for 30 years of service to the city of Oklahoma City and the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust and congratulate him on his retirement.
All right, thank you. Do the trustees have any comments? Well, let's take a motion first. Is there a motion for approval? All right, and then, I see we got a motion second. Yes, and vote, and would you vote me down as a yes? And it passes unanimously. Do the trustees have any comments they'd like to share?
Go ahead.
All right.
I don't know, how many years have we been sitting next to each other? 4 or 5 now? I want to thank you for putting up with a lot of dumb questions. I want to thank you for taking my phone calls. I want you to tell your wife thank you too. 30 years, so it would, May of 93 you've been here?
Actually, it's December 6th, 93.
December 6th of 93, outstanding. I think the third whereas is what really reminds me of you, and it says, whereas Mr. Weingart has contributed through his astute insights, attention to detail, consideration of the facts in his decision-making, and consistent demonstration of continual regard for high standards. That is you. I will miss your Kansas City chief attire, but I hope you come back and visit us soon. And once again, congratulations on your retirement.
Yeah, I'm going to echo everything he said. So is that good, I guess? Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for the service to the city, for the citizens of our city, and do greatly appreciate all the insight that you've had and that you've shared with the rest of us. So thank you very much.
And all the utility staff, but his leadership and his ability to zero in on problems and solutions It just made it so much easier to be the legal counsel to this trust and to this body, and his dedication to the citizens and to this entity are just landmark. And I really appreciate every day we spent together.
Brett, thank you for your service to the city. Thank you for your resilience. Thank you for your innovative approaches. You know, a utility like this doesn't reach the kind of nationwide recognition and acclaim that we have, as well as the opportunity to serve our citizens with the highest rated service in the city without some uniquely innovative ways of approaching that. And I really appreciate that. I told your wife I think of you as the new guy because you came here 14 years after I started with the city. But now you've earned your retirement. Thank you so much for the time you spent here.
Brett, it's just my pleasure to be able to congratulate you on your retirement today. Being the newest member of the trust, I haven't had the length of time to get to know you, but the time I've spent with you here on the trust has absolutely been a pleasure, and I just wish you the best in your retirement. Thank you.
All right, I have some comments, but I will save my comments for an event later this afternoon. Thank you. Anything you'd like to share?
Well, I want to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be at the City of Oklahoma City. All right, and every single person I've ever worked with here has been fabulous, and I think this is the best job in the entire world, the best city in the entire world. I wouldn't have wanted anything different, and everything that you guys have read on here was done as a team effort with every single person that worked here. And whether they're in utilities or other departments, the collaboration to make things happen and achieve all the things that have been accomplished. I know that all the people that we've mentored up over the years, we're going to do way even better than we did before. I really have faith in all of that. They're all wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's give him a round of applause. Next on the agenda is item C, which is the amended Private Development Water and Wastewater Design Requirements Manual.
Mr. Chairman, we brought this item to the trust several months back and have had further conversation with the Contractors Association. So we made a couple more modifications. As you recall, we updated the manual from the 2006 version. And so we amended the requirement for manhole lids and for sewer service connections, and now we're ready to present for your consideration, and upon approval, we will present to City Council at the next meeting for their consideration as well.
So tell me a little bit about the public inclusion, involvement, participation by the public contractors, engineers, and such.
We had several meetings
Developers.
with the developers, the engineers, and the contractors to ask them to give us their comments related to the improvements. And basically, it was a consolidation of changes that have been made over the years since 2006. In addition to that, we included the wastewater design standards, which originally only had the water design standards. So we updated the manual to include both. And we had quite a few discussions with the developers, contractors, and engineers, and agreed upon these changes as the direction that we should head as a community for development standards. So this process has been going on for probably about 18 months. We also included members of this trust in those conversations as well. If I remember correctly, Councilmember Stone, Cipher, and Stone were involved in those conversations with the developers as well. So we are quite sure that we have an up-to-date design manual that everybody has agreed is a good direction and would like your consideration accordingly.
All right. Any comments or questions regarding the design manual? Seeing none, is there a motion for approval?
We had problems with this
Oh,
earlier.
there we go.
today.
It's up. And it passes unanimously. Next up is item D, has to do with the refunding of certain outstanding obligations with the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust. Dennis Whaley's here this afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Dennis Whaley with PFM. We're the financial advisor to Aquit. First, I just want to say, Brett, I've enjoyed working with you for 15 or more years, and I wish you the very, very best in retirement. Enjoy. Here to talk a moment about an upcoming bond sale. This bond sale will occur in mid-May and be a refunding of commercial paper, about $71 million, providing Aquit funds back from a reimbursement resolution, about $42 million, and then to borrow some new money in the amount of $157 million. That comes to a total of $270 million, and the bonds will be sold with a tenor. They will be amortized over time, but the longest bonds will be 40 years in length, and the reason for that is much of this money will go toward the Atoka pipeline and other long-lived assets, so we can match our liabilities to our assets and issue for a longer period than as we have historically. We solicited underwriting firms on March 20th to select a team to sell these bonds. Responses are due back tomorrow. The team will be selected in early April, and during the month of April, we'll be doing other tasks, including completing the preliminary official statement. We'll be doing rating meetings and having diligence sessions with the underwriting team. We will return to the trust on April 23rd for approval of the documents for the bond sale, and that will be a double docket with the city council meeting on the morning of April 23rd. Once again, pricing will be on May 15th with the closing on May 29th. Be glad to answer any questions.
So the bond market these days are higher but stable?
I would say stable. We had 2 transactions this morning for the city of Oklahoma City on the GO side. We sold about $110 million in tax-exempt GO bonds, had 7 bidders this morning. The bids were all very close together. We then sold some taxable bonds. We had 4 bids, and I think the difference between first and second was 1/1000th of a basis point. So we were pretty much on the market.
So what was the TIC on the tax exempt?
The tax exempt, high 3.
3.44.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. All right.
3.449 something, yeah.
That's close enough. Excellent. Okay. Any questions for Dennis regarding the potential refunding?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a couple of comments. First of all, this is more of a bridge. We're still negotiating with the banks for the commercial paper. As you all know, our current contract with State Street expires in June, so we're still working on that project, and Dennis is actively involved in that with our staff and attorneys. And then secondly, we're still working on a bank note as well. We're hoping the state legislature will help us out with the laws that exempt many of the large banks from doing business in Oklahoma City. So we're still actively working on those 2, but this is a bridge to kind of get us a little bit of relief so that we can continue to award some of our capital projects that are stymied right now because we have a couple of really big projects going on that are taking up a lot of the credit limit in our commercial paper. So that's what we're doing here to kind of keep us going and staying on schedule.
All right. Is there a motion for approval? And it passes unanimously. Thank you, Dennis. Item E is a resolution adopting the McGee Creek Authority fiscal year 25 budget, capital improvement projects, and pay plan. Any questions regarding that? The McGee Creek met 2 weeks ago and adopted these items. Seeing none, is there a motion for approval? And it passes unanimously. Items from trustees this afternoon. Yeah. All right, General Manager report. Mr. Browning?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to talk about Brett for just a second. Then I'm going to have some more comments across the street. But you know, there were a lot of whereases in that resolution. So he's been busy. And I'm going to tell you, I've never seen anyone more committed or passionate or deliberate in the service to the public than Brett. I mean, he has always jumped in there no matter what. And you've seen in the resolution that he's accomplished a lot during his tenure with the utilities. And I want to personally thank you for that, Brett. And we're going to miss you. And I'm going to miss you. So thank you very much. Secondly, we have the pro forma spending and revenues are generally where they're expected. Lake levels are doing great right now. Hefner's a half a foot above full pool. Draper's only 2.5 feet below full pool. Canton is above full pool. As a matter of fact, the Corps has released more water. They're trying to get some more freeboard for the May and June rains. Atoka is half a foot below full, and McGee Creek is 3.2 feet above full pool. They got quite a bit of rain the last few days. So we're doing great with our lakes right now. So be happy to answer any questions that you may all have. Other than that, that's all I have.
All right, any questions for Mr. Browning? Seeing none, I'm not aware of any citizens that have signed up to be heard this afternoon. Therefore, we are adjourned.